welcome. This is In the Making. I'm your host, Treasure Trainer, and today we have Kristen Jasper.
Yes.
She is an artist with many talents. Why don't you talk about what type of artwork you do?
I do a lot of artwork. I started painting in October, and I've been drawing since I was a kid. And I also have created t-shirts and designs, and I do graphic design.
That's awesome.
And I draw.
That's so cool. So you just started painting in October?
Yes.
Wow, that's impressive.
Thanks.
So you mainly do acrylic pouring, is that correct? Or?
I started with acrylic pouring
in
October, and then I've progressed, and I still do acrylic pouring, but I'm also adding alcohol inks and watercolors.
Those. Yeah,
Thanks.
Those are so pretty. I love your videos that you do because it just looks so dreamy and wispy. It's so cool.
And you can watch how it looks really good, and then you take it one step too far.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I wish I could go back.
Right. It's so cool though.
Yeah.
Thanks. Did you go to school for art or?
I went to school for art direction and graphic design. I was deciding between nursing or elementary education or art, and then did art.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What made you finalize with art?
Well, I started with nursing, and I'm not good at science. So,
That's okay.
And I feel like God gave me more of a talent towards art than science. So it was a better fit.
That's okay. That's cool. Were there any people in your life that you found that kind of pushed you towards art, that encouraged you? Because sometimes, a common theme on the show is, people that do go towards art, it's kind of hard because it's not a super reliable career, but you feel so passionate about it, you can't not do that. So how did you kind of deal with that and going towards that direction?
Well, my parents were always supportive of art in general,
That's
of me playing with art and doing it. And but when it came time to choose a career, they suggested graphic design because you could do that from home, you could do it with the family, whereas I probably would have done the fine arts, which is the painting, the hands-on, tactile. So it was a good direction at the time, and I'm still doing that, but I like to get my hands messy.
Yeah.
So they definitely supported all of it. They just tried to be wise in the financial department too.
So where did you go to study graphic design?
I finished at Texas A&M Commerce when they had Dallas. They had in the workforce teachers.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you teach some classes, is that right?
I do. I've started teaching the acrylic pouring, and then I might add some ink classes.
That would be awesome.
As long as there's good ventilation. And then and I do some on the side drawing classes, individual.
So what was the idea behind the classes? Did you just want kids to learn it, or adults, or both, or?
One of the reasons that I love, so I have a more abstract feel for all of my design. I would rather focus on that because, it doesn't have to be perfect. Life is messy, and that's kind of what I base my art on, is life. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and it can be fun. And a lot of people feel like they can't do art.
Yeah.
And that's why the acrylic pouring is really good to jump into, because people that feel like they don't have any art skills can do it. But I also feel like your teacher, maybe that you had when you were younger or anything, can influence how you feel about yourself with art.
For sure.
And I want everyone to realize they can do art, even if it's not, maybe the way that everyone says it should be.
Right.
That it's the way you look at life and look at people.
And
so I like teaching people that.
That's cool, to just give it a different perspective altogether. Because acrylic pouring is a lot more hands-on, and it's a lot more messier. But it's so much fun, because then afterwards you look at it and you've made that beautiful piece, and it kind of opens up your mind, I feel like, with what you're capable of doing.
Right, and I've had a lot of people in my class that are like, we have no artistic talent. I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah.
And you can keep manipulating it to make it look good. So maybe your first pour didn't look good, you can add some more paint back in, and it's the goal that you love it.
Yeah.
But I've had 2 students that don't, and I'm really bummed about it. Out of all of them.
So how long have you been doing the classes for then?
I don't know, a few months. Yeah.
That's really cool. Do you have a studio that you hold them at?
My house, my kitchen table.
Nice.
Yep.
That's really cool.
And then I've done, we just did one this week I work out at a bar studio. So she let us do that in there.
That's
We
awesome.
had some acrylic pouring and some wine tasting.
Nice.
And then I've done like some on-location classes,
That's cool.
which are fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Have you seen your students kind of open up, like you were saying, like to the possibility of art, or what's usually the feedback afterwards? Because people are usually pretty hesitant.
Right.
But
I think they're normally happy with what they have. But if it comes to like drawing and stuff, like at the bar studio, I had one lady who said that she wasn't good at arts.
yeah.
And I'm trying to convince her, and she's like, nope. I'm like, okay.
She already has her mind made up.
But she was happy with her piece, so that was good. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So you also do coasters.
Yes.
And those are really unique. I love those.
Thanks.
You do alcohol ink for those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you do acrylic pouring for those as well, or mainly alcohol ink?
Okay, so on my classes, there's normally a lot of paint left on my table, on the plastic of the
Okay.
table. And so I've tried putting those on the coasters, and I don't like how they look.
Yeah.
I'm really picky with what I like, and it's not my favorite.
That's
So
okay.
I'd rather do the alcohol ink on the coasters.
Yeah.
And the coasters, I do it on ceramic tile. So, sorry, I made that move.
Oh, you're fine.
So they're the perfect texture
Okay.
to take in the alcohol ink. So,
Right.
and I think it's prettier.
I loved your seashell coasters that you made too.
Thanks.
That was really cool. How did
Thanks.
what's the process for that?
You have to get a mold.
Okay.
So you got like a, like a cooking mold
Mhm.
even, but the ones that can just pop right out.
Okay.
Silicone, I guess.
Silicone,
Yes.
yeah, okay. That
And
makes
then you
sense.
pour the resin into it, and then I would put the alcohol ink or seashells in.
That's so cool.
It's
That's
just a more
awesome.
expensive option.
Yeah.
So, because
What
you're
way
using
do
a
you
lot of
think
resin.
of that?
I love the seashells and the
Yeah.
beach, and it just seemed fun. And a lot of people make jewelry with their acrylic pours. They use resin to make the jewelry, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I've done jewelry with like leather earrings and
Wow.
but
That's really cool.
thanks.
So, with all of art, it's kind of hard to like describe the feelings you have when you create art, but what is like your main drive, and what is like the main feeling you get when you are creating art?
A lot of it's my emotions, but the reason I love to do art is because of, I guess, my faith. And I feel like God created beautiful things that, they can feel, like they can hurt, they can be happy. So I'll put my music on and just jam to it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time, my mood is reflected in my art. But yeah, so I want to create things that are reflecting life.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Do you find that life is kind of easier to cope with when you're doing your artwork?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Art's my therapy. I've got 2 little crazy boys who I love, but they're crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you need an outlet. And
For sure.
so even if I didn't continue to work it as a business, I would still want to do it for fun.
That's awesome. Do your kids do any art, or does
Yes.
your husband? Yeah, that's awesome.
My husband does not. I haven't gotten him to take a class, but he's fully supportive,
That's good.
which is
That's
very
awesome.
good because, I paint everywhere.
Yeah.
Like on the floor, on the kitchen table. And yes, I may have, the first time I did alcohol ink, stripped some of our table. So he's very supportive. But no, our kids love to do, they want to do what their mom's doing.
Oh, for sure.
And I also offer kids classes.
Okay.
So they love it when I do a kids class because they're automatically included in that.
Right. That's awesome.
And then my youngest actually asked me this week, he's like, can we do art like with a brush, not with a cup? I was like, okay. They love art.
And so you do watercolors too,
Mhm.
and you've done like, I don't know if they're paintings. I don't want to put like words in your mouth, but like I've seen, were they sketches or paintings of just?
They start as sketches.
Okay, they started.
So they start as sketches. Normally I'll do like a rough sketch no matter what, if it's an animal or a person, because I like to add some dancers in too. And I'll do my sketch with charcoal or pencil, and then I'll take a light box and I'll do the watercolor over
Okay.
the sketch.
So what's your inspiration for, like the watercolor aspect? Is it just your life, or?
Same thing with
Yeah.
the abstracts where it's a little messy and
Okay.
pretty. But the dancers, I love dancing. And like that's kind of my youngest too. We love to dance. And I did a drip series because I like it when it's a little,
Yeah.
it's not perfect. I don't like anything to be perfect. Not my hair, not anything.
I love that. That's awesome.
And then, you know, I'd ask my kids, like, what should I do? And so that's where some of those animals came from. And I just like the color that's included in it. Like, all of my pieces are colorful.
I love
and
that.
I try to be really neutral sometimes because I feel like that's more liked.
Yeah.
But then I just throw colors in.
Yeah, there's a little pop of color. So you're from Frisco area.
Yes.
Have you found like a good community in this area? I feel like it's a pretty good area for artists.
It is. I don't feel like I've connected as much with artists. I have a little bit. I just haven't tried yet.
Right. But the community's very welcoming, I feel like.
Right.
And you've been in a lot of shows.
Yes.
You were at the Raw Dallas show, is that correct?
I was going to be, but I decided not to be.
Okay, that's okay.
I'm going to be in a ladies and art one. It's a new one, so it's like all ladies supported in Dallas. And I was in the Frisco art show and the Highland Village art show.
Yeah, I remember, I think I saw you at the Frisco art show.
Yes.
And I just loved your giant canvases of acrylic pouring because they're just so pretty. I made this one with a friend, but like when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize artists did that. That's so cool. What's been your favorite show, and why do you like going to the shows?
Well, normally I would go to shop, before I went to sell, and I love seeing all the artists work, and, you know, it's nice to support people that make things by hand and maybe are local. But as an artist in the show, just connecting with the other artists and seeing people that love your work, and actually I've had more interest at the shows and like art classes. Okay. You know, people that want to get in and get their hands dirty too and try it. Yeah. Which is fun.
That is fun.
Yeah. Better to try a hobby before you just jump in.
Yeah. Before you completely commit yourself.
It is really addicting though. So as you probably know.
Yeah, it's so fun, and you just feel like you want to make thousands of them, and they're all so different that it's like the possibilities are just endless. So that's awesome.
Well, I like that none of them can be the same.
Yeah.
I mean, even with alcohol inks or anything, like, it's not the same. You can't replicate it.
Right. It's like a fingerprint. It's just beautiful and unique.
You start with a color palette and an idea, and then it just does itself.
Yeah. So what's your favorite color palette to use for your work? Since it is so colorful, what are some of your favorites?
Well, my favorite colors are turquoise and purple. So there's a lot of those. And so, like, this is my phone case, and turquoise and purple.
Yeah. That's so pretty, though.
But, so, probably that palette.
That palette.
Yes.
That's cool.
With gold. Gold, always.
Gold, yes.
It
it's
sparkles
just
something.
Yeah.
Yes. Even if there is no gold, there will be.
Yeah. You'll find it, right?
Yes.
So what's your process for the alcohol ink? Because I've never seen anyone do anything like that before. Like, what type of utensils do you have, or?
I use, so I've done two different things. Okay. I actually made my own alcohol inks. Wow. Out of markers. I completely pried apart some markers that I thought I would love and I hated. Oh. And I took all of them and I made alcohol inks out of them. Wow. I think like 2 my kids get to use. And those are very fluid alcohol ink. So if I wanted to do those on like a little canvas, or even I tried them in the seashell coasters, and they took over the whole thing. It was just color. Oh. It wasn't like little drops of concentrated color. So I made those, but those are great for like the big round pieces that I make, and I'll put resin on it, and then I'll put the alcohol ink in there and then blow it out, and then add more color and do it again. So those work really great for big pieces because they move more. Whereas I put the concentrated pieces on, and like the ink didn't go anywhere.
They just kind of stay there.
Yes. Okay. So that's not great for those. And then for my little pieces, or like my on Yupo paper, which is like a plastic paper, which is similar to tile because it's really that good material where it just sits on top of it. Okay. I use I purchase inks for it. Okay. And so I'll put ink down, and then I'll get a syringe, like a dropper, and use alcohol. Like medicinal alcohol, and I'll pour some alcohol on top with the dropper, and then I'll blow dry it out. Wow. And
just with the blow dryer?
With the blow dryer.
That's awesome.
And technically you should probably have like a little travel blow dryer.
Yeah.
But I use my big old, that's all I have right now.
Yeah.
And then I just keep going back and adding an ink and alcohol until I like it.
Wow. And then how long does it take to dry, or what does it look
It dries
like?
pretty
It dries
fast.
pretty fast.
And then you want to seal it, because otherwise, like, especially on those materials, it'll, like, if you put your hands on top of it, it'll rub off.
Okay.
So you want to seal it, and then, like, the tiles, I resin over them to make them solid.
That is so cool. That's awesome. Where did you get that idea from? Were there other artists that you saw doing that, or what was your inspiration for that?
Which part?
The alcohol ink.
Oh, okay. I saw other artists when I was doing the acrylic pouring. That, like, Carolyn Jo Art, she's a Dallas artist, and she has beautiful colors.
Yeah.
And it's not pouring, because it feels like it's more
Right.
designed,
Yeah.
I guess. And I don't know exactly what she uses, but I just loved her palette. Like, she inspired me on that palette, and how, like, fluid her inks look. And so,
Yeah.
I don't know, I just started looking, and I found alcohol ink and
That's awesome.
wanted to play with it.
Yeah. You want to try it out?
Yes. And then I ruined my table. And
It's worth
yes,
it.
yeah, totally.
So who are some artists, or who are some teachers maybe that you've had that inspired you to just either make your own type of art or start kind of like your classes and everything? Like, where did that inspiration come from? Do you think?
Well, I mean, the artists, like, I'd say, like, Carolyn Jo Art, I love looking at her Instagram and all her images. And she actually has where she worked with a designer on making a skirt of
Oh,
her.
wow.
And so
That's cool.
that's one of my goals, is
Yeah.
to make clothes out of my designs. And then I also met someone else at the Allen Art Show. Her company is Inner Glow Arts.
Okay.
So it's very inspirational. And her stuff is beautiful. It's more neutral. But it's beautiful.
Yeah.
What was the last part?
Did you have any teachers or professors that really inspired you when you were starting
Okay, to
out,
teach.
or-
So the reason I decided to teach art was because of how many people said that they loved the art, but they weren't really ready to buy it yet.
Right.
So just giving people an opportunity to make their own art, because it's a lot of times it's more sentimental
Yeah.
to make your own art. But I mean, I think teachers, most of my teachers were, I mean, in college it was graphic design teaching. So I mean, it's just about doing a good job and being passionate about your work. But in college I did take an oil painting class.
Oh.
And she was all about, like, if I took a palette knife and I painted my whole canvas with a palette knife, like, she loved it.
Wow.
Because it's not perfect.
Yeah,
so
it's different.
Yeah, it's like art. You just make it. And then I remember when I was little taking an art class. It's probably like my first art class. And it was just teaching me the basics of what the rules are of art, because you really need to know what the rules are before you break them. And then you just do whatever you want. But at the same time, like, you need to know. And it's just the way that I was talking about before, about how people don't think they can do art until maybe they haven't been shown
Right.
how to see it. Because I mean, like, stick figures, you don't walk around like as a stick.
Yeah.
I mean, you have like shapes and yeah.
There's
It's the easy way out.
Yeah, that's so true. So you do make clothing though, right? Like, you have yoga pants and that's so cool.
So I used to, like, I've done t-shirts, and my husband and I had a fire apparel company, and
Wow.
that we did on our own, and that we started, and there's a lot of hands-on, and I like to design more than I do to produce,
Right.
for the most part. So I outsource, like, I'll use companies online,
That's awesome.
and, you know, basically upload my designs, and then I don't have to worry about the production part of it,
Right.
but you still get the cute clothes. Like, one of those is Printful. That's where I'm getting, like, the yoga pants and t-shirts, and one of them is Vita, which is, like, an artist resource. So a lot of artists go on there, and you can make, like, scarves and shirts and skirts.
That's awesome.
It's fun.
What's your favorite type of clothing with your artwork on it?
Skirt.
Skirt?
Yeah.
That would be pretty. With the alcohol ink or the acrylic pour?
I haven't done the alcohol ink yet.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I've designed it, but I haven't, like, purchased one for myself.
Right.
But I would love to work with, like, a local, like, even a local mom who wants to create a clothing line
That would be
or something. Would be pretty fun.
Cool. That would be pretty fun.
I mean, it doesn't have to be mom, but
Yeah.
just, I know a lot of times they're looking for jobs.
Yeah. So what's been your favorite piece that you've created so far? I'm sure that's kind of hard because you make so many cool, diverse acrylic pours, but what's been your favorite, do you think?
The big ones.
The big ones?
Yeah.
I love the one that you had at the wedding. That was
Thanks.
really pretty.
Well, there was two.
Huge.
There was and they were the darker ones.
Yeah. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
that's such a cool idea for a wedding, to have just a giant painting there. I thought that was
I think it'd be pretty cool. Well, my friend actually owns the venue, and she's really supportive, and she's pretty awesome. But it was her idea to have it, and then they have this big, beautiful backdrop. I'm that'd be really cool to have a picture behind you.
Yeah.
And then that's something that you include in your home later.
That would be really cool.
I had never thought about that.
Yeah.
So.
That was really. That was cool.
Very creative idea.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
People can find you on Instagram and on Facebook. And you just opened up your website, right?
Yes, a real website. Yeah.
And what's your website called?
It's KristenJasperFineArt.com.
Okay. All right. And I'll have that all linked below if you want to follow her. Thank you so much for tuning in. And don't forget that you too are in the making.